today's My Carolina Legal Advice, we're talking about a very serious subject, and that is domestic violence within the family. And joining us is Stephanie Jenkins from Gaylor, Wallace & Hunt. And Stephanie, this is something that I'm sure if this comes to your office, if a client comes to the office and there is proven domestic violence, where do you go from there?
Well, I think you have to be very, very careful. I know that I am when I'm dealing with clients who are in an abusive situation. The first thing you want to do is assure their safety. The first thing that I counsel them is if you don't feel safe, you need to get out of that situation, and we need to figure out how to make that happen. Now, everything else is secondary.
As a family lawyer, do you help facilitate some of that, or does a criminal lawyer come in and do some of that? I guess if I were in a situation like that, I wouldn't know which to turn to.
Well, I'm probably different, maybe a little special. I do criminal and domestic work.
Okay.
My background is I can do some criminal domestic violence work, and so I try to guide my clients in both areas if I feel that it may be a criminal and a civil situation. But certainly, as a law firm, we don't have all of the resources to deal with the issues that are going to be involved in domestic violence, and so we try to be aware of what's out there and to counsel our clients about where they can go to get assisted help, either therapy or support groups, that sort of thing, and obviously law enforcement if they need that sort of help as well. We try to keep our website updated so that you can get that information if you need it.
So when we first started working with you on our segments here, we talked about a box of evidence. Is there such a thing in case of domestic violence where you have evidence, whether it's emergency room, doctor's reports, or what sort of things would be involved in that?
Absolutely. If you had emergency room, doctor's reports, that would be something that I think a court would want to know if you're going to court about it. Box of evidence, sometimes you're going to have pictures. Sometimes you're going to have threatening phone calls that have been taped. So you have voicemails or threats of that sort of thing. And then sometimes you're actually going to have people who have heard it. You're going to have witnesses. In really bad situations, frequently it's not the victims who call. It's the neighbors,
somebody else,
the people in the Walmart parking lot who see it going on. So in really difficult situations, you're going to have objective third-party evidence a lot of the time, too.
And is all of that brought into the actual proceedings oftentimes?
It certainly can be. Domestic violence proceedings, when you talk about proceedings, they do frequently end up in courtrooms, and they can be either civil or criminal in nature. Civil would be the state of North Carolina versus a person. Civil is one person against another person. So when you hear about restraining orders, you're usually thinking about a civil case. Usually that's where the victim goes and asks the court for help to keep someone away from them. That's a civil restraining order. If it's a criminal case, it's the state of North Carolina, and you might be talking about an assault case, a stalking case, where the state of North Carolina is the person that's actually proceeding.
Now, I would imagine it gets, of course, much more complicated when children are involved in the potential domestic violence part of it, too.
It does. And the one thing that I try to counsel my clients is your kids see and know a lot more than you want to admit they do. And so just beware of that. Just because you think the kids are asleep or the kids are in the back of the house, I just counsel my clients strongly to really be aware and cognizant of the fact that they usually see and hear a lot more than you think they do.
So the number one thing here is to be assured of safety first. Get out of the situation.
Absolutely, if you can. But beware that frequently victims of domestic violence, the most dangerous time for them is when they are trying to leave. And so they need to have an exit plan. They need to have talked it through, walked it through with either law enforcement officials, the local domestic violence support group. Have a plan for what you're going to do. Don't leave without thinking it through first.
Now, this information Stephanie has provided is on our website and on their website, and there is, you guys have a lot of stuff for if you think you are a victim of domestic violence. Go to GaylorWallace.com and click on the domestic violence part, and you will be able to read all of this information and a whole lot more.
Yes,
okay.
You will be.
All right, Stephanie, that's a great resource. Thank you so much for your time today.